Some time ago, you learned the verb demek and how we use it. Today, I'm going to teach you the verb söylemek. Söylemek. Even though both verbs mean to say, to tell, the sentence structures are different. First of all, let's conjugate it for all personal pronouns in the known past tense as you will use and hear this very often. Ben söyledim. Sen söyledin. O söyledi. Biz söyledik. Siz söylediniz. Onlar söylediler. Or onlar söyledi. The most common way to use this verb, like the verb demek, is when repeating a speech, where the speaker is giving the words spoken by himself, herself, or by someone else. But this time, differently from the verb demek, we need to modify the sentence a little. First of all, let me show you an example with the verb demek as a reminder. Let's assume I said Hülya yarın gidecek. Hülya yarın gidecek. This means Hülya will go tomorrow. Now, I'm going to say this sentence to someone else repeating my speech. And I'm going to use the verb demek. What I want to say is, I said Hülya will go tomorrow. As you would remember with the verb demek, when repeating a speech, we use the exact words without a change. Therefore, what we say is, ben Hülya yarın gidecek dedim. Ben Hülya yarın gidecek dedim. As you see, the verb demek has been conjugated in the known past tense and the repeated speech has not been changed. Now, after remembering this, let's continue with today's topic. How can we form the same sentence using the verb söylemek? When söylemek comes into equation, you will need to consider nominalization suffixes, or another way to say it, subordinating suffixes, because in this case, the repeated sentence will be the subordinate sentence, and it needs to be nominalized. Let's make an example. The patient said, I heard. Using the verb demek, this is how it goes. Hasta duydum dedi. Hasta duydum dedi. Now we're going to use the verb söylemek. Remember, in a typical sentence, we place the predicate to the end and the subject goes to the beginning. The subject of this sentence is hasta. Hasta. It goes to the beginning. The predicate of this sentence will be söyledi. Söyledi. Söyledi is the known past tense conjugation of the verb söylemek for the third singular person. He, she. So now what we have is hasta söyledi. What the patient said is duydum. Duydum. And this needs to come between the subject and the predicate. As I said, this time the predicate of the sentence duydum will be nominalized. And yes, duydum itself is a sentence and it only has the predicate. When we nominalize the verb of a subordinate sentence to be used with the verb söylemek, in general, what makes the difference is if the time of the verb of the subordinate sentence is before or after the time of the verb of the main sentence. That is to say, söylemek. It may feel complicated, but it will get clear soon. In this sentence, the patient said, I heard. Hearing is before saying. The patient said, I heard, right? Therefore, in the Turkish sentence, we will use the dık suffix for nominalization. Dık suffix refers to past and also present. When we do that, what we obtain is Hasta duyduğunu söyledi. Hasta duyduğunu söyledi. Duy is the verb root of duymak. Duk is the nominalization suffix according to the vowel harmony. U is the possessive suffix for the third singular person. Ne is the buffer letter, and the last U is the accusative case suffix. And because of the consonant mutation, K at the end of the suffix duk turns into yumuşak G. And the accusative case suffix is necessary because the verb söylemek requires this suffix attached to its direct object. Yes, here the subordinate sentence is the direct object of the verb söylemek. Hasta duyduğunu söyledi. Hasta duyduğunu söyledi. And the translation of this into English is the patient said that he or she had heard. This is the reported speech, as you can see. Actually, the technically correct Turkish translation of the patient said that he or she had heard is a little bit of different than this. However, there are some exceptions in this topic. Because of that, I will explain them later. So I will keep it this way for now. Now, let's make a similar example, but this time I'm going to play with the tenses a little. In the previous example, I used the sentence, the patient said, I heard. Now, the patient said, I will hear. In Turkish, hasta duyacağım dedi. Hasta duyacağım dedi. Now, let's form this using the verb söylemek. If we remember from the previous example, the subject goes to the beginning of the sentence and the predicate goes to the end. Therefore, hasta söyledi. In this sentence, hearing will be after saying, right? Therefore, in the Turkish sentence, we will use ecek suffix for nominalization. Ecek refers to future. Let's do it. Hasta duyacağını söyledi. Hasta duyacağını söyledi. Duy is the verb root of duymak. Acak is the nominalization suffix according to the vowel harmony. Ü is the possessive suffix for the third singular person. Ne is the buffer letter. And the last ü is the accusative case suffix. And again, because of the consonant mutation, k at the end of the suffix acak turns into yumuşak G. Hasta duyacağını söyledi. Hasta duyacağını söyledi. And the translation of this sentence into English is, the patient said that he or she would hear. This is basically the fundamentals of this topic. And I will cover this topic in the next couple of videos. Before I finish today, here is another example as a fundamental. My mother said the match will start soon. In Turkish, annem maç az sonra başlayacak dedi. Annem maç az sonra başlayacak dedi. In the previous two examples, while forming the sentences using söylemek, the subject or the doer of the main sentence and the subordinate sentence were the same. In this example, they are different. The subject of the main sentence is annem, and the predicate will be söyledi. So, annem söyledi. Annem söyledi. The subordinate sentence will come in between, and the predicate of it, so basically the verb of it, will be nominalized. As you already know from the previous examples, the subordinating suffix ecek will be used and the mandatory possessive suffix will follow it. So here is what we have without the subject of the subordinate sentence. Annem az sonra başlayacağını söyledi. Annem az sonra başlayacağını söyledi. And now the subject of the subordinate sentence. much, much. This will receive the genitive case suffix in according to the vowel harmony. Therefore, at the end, what we obtain is annem maçın az sonra başlayacağını söyledi. Annem maçın az sonra başlayacağını söyledi. My mother said that the match would start soon. This is it for today. In the next videos, I will continue to this topic and I will give you more examples and more details as well. Additionally, I will introduce another nominalization suffix. In the meantime, if you have any questions, please let me know so I can answer them in the next videos. Thank you very much for today. See you in the next videos. Görüşmek üzere.